People are telling us that they do feel it's time to choose, and the number one issue on which they're going to choose, jobs in America. And we would like to hear from all of you in this opening round. And the question is this: what is your distinguishing from all of the others on this stage, about how to create jobs in this country, how to bring jobs back from overseas, and if you will, how many jobs do you think you can create, and how long will that take? Senator Santorum.
Well, I was just down in Fremont County, which is down in the far southwest corner of the state, and they just lost about a couple hundred jobs at a ConAgra plant down there. And Governor Branstad and Lieutenant Governor Reynolds understand. That's why they asked us to have a forum here in Pella a few weeks ago on manufacturing. They understand that the heartland of America is suffering because the manufacturing economy of this country continues to go down. We used to have 21% of the people employed in this country in manufacturing. It's now 9%, and it hurts disproportionately small town and rural America. So what I learned from traveling around Iowa is we had to get a plan together to revitalize manufacturing. So I took the corporate tax, not the 12%, I zeroed it out for all manufacturers. We want manufacturing, we want Made in the USA to be the moniker under my administration. We want to put a platform together that's going to repeal regulations that are crushing our manufacturers and businesses. I'll repeal. One thing a president can do, he can't pass a law, but he can repeal regulations. And Barack Obama has given us a bevy of regulations that need to be repealed, starting with a lot of our energy regulations that are driving up our energy costs. That's another part of the plan, is to make sure we have lower electricity rates, that we have oil and gas drilling going on here so manufacturing can afford to be here. You put together that plan, we will not only revitalize the economy, we'll take care of an area of this country that has suffered in recent times, and that's rural and small town America.
I just want to point out, I think Governor Romney is the only one who actually gave a 4-year first term number, which was, again, 11.5 million jobs. Wondered if anyone else wanted to come in with a 4-year first term promise to the American people.
I'm not going to make a promise, because I don't believe the government can sit there and from the top down dictate how many jobs they're going to create. What we can do is we can create an atmosphere for businesses to thrive, and we know what that means. Less regulation, regulation that works for businesses, taxation that makes us competitive, a litigation environment that makes us competitive. You create the platform, you create that petri dish, you'll get lots of things growing there, and I don't need some government bean counter to tell us we've got the right program to be able to create jobs in this country.
I want to move on, if I can, to another question which represents some of the urgent and tough choices presidents have to make, because this one is coming up soon, December 31st, and it is the payroll tax cut. And as we know, the payroll tax cut, which funds the Social Security fund in this country, is part of the argument, part of the debate, part of the consideration about the economy in this country right now. And by some estimates, if this tax cut expires on December 31st, it could add as much as $1,000 to the tax burden of American working families.
Yeah, you're the only one. What is your position on this?
Is there a Social Security trust fund or not? And is the Social Security system going to be funded by payroll taxes or not? And the President of the United States runs around and talks about how Republicans don't care about Social Security and how they're going to rip apart the Social Security system, and he's the one defunding the Social Security system. We're either going to have a serious debate of how to fix Social Security, and we're not going to do it by taking resources away from Social Security to pay benefits. So I'm all for tax cuts. I welcome the President to sit down with Republicans in Congress to work on a tax cut that's going to create growth in the economy. But to take the Social Security Trust Fund that is so sacrosanct to the Democrats when it comes to election time, and then to use that as a tax and then try to beat up Republicans for not supporting a tax cut is absurd. You either care about Social Security and you want to fund it, or you don't.
As I said, I do want to broaden this out. And all of you have been debating for the past several months two big questions through this nomination fight. Who is the most consistent conservative candidate among you, and which of you is best able to defeat President Obama? Senator.
This is not about what you say at a debate or what you say in a campaign when you're talking to audiences that you want to get, that you know what they want to hear. Back in 1994, Newt, I was running for the United States Senate, and I did not support an individual mandate, and I was a conservative. I supported something called medical savings accounts that I drafted with John Kasich when I was in the House, because I believe in bottom-up solving the problems in America, not top-down government solutions. That's what I learned. I actually learned some of it in listening to some of your GoPac tapes. But you strayed on that issue, as you have on others. The record is important. What the question was about a consistent conservative. Well, you can't talk about whether someone's consistent unless you look at their record. And I would agree with Michelle. I mean, I think Michelle has been consistent as a consistent conservative. But she's been fighting and losing. I fought and won. I was in the United States Senate, and I fought and passed welfare reform. I was the principal author when I was in the United States House and managed the bill on the floor of the United States Senate. I was the leader on pro-life issues and pro-family issues, and I fought those issues and endured tough debates and won. I went out and fought on national security issues, conservative things like putting sanctions on Iran. And again, the consistent track record of being there when good times and in bad, and I think you heard the difference. You're not going to hear them talk about all the positions I took and flip-flopped on. I was there, I led, and I won. And if you're looking for someone who can be a consistent conservative, and there's others on this platform, but who can lead the fight, win the issues, and plus win in states that are important for us to win elections like Pennsylvania. To reference the differences between the two of us, I was in the minority in the House of Representatives too, and along with Jim Nussel from here in Iowa, we formed a group called the Gang of Seven, and we won. We exposed the House banking scandal. We overturned a huge scandal. We eventually sent the chairman of the Ways and Means Committee, Dan Rostenkowski, ended up in jail because we didn't just fight, but we fight and we figured out a way to win even in the minority.
And we want to get to another issue that you all have talked about extensively in this campaign, and that is values, family, and faith. Senator Santorum, you were on This Week last Sunday, and you summed up your position as character counts. You said this is relevant as well.
I think character issues do count, and I think all of your record, personal as well as political record, is there for the public to look at. I would not say it's a disqualifier. I wouldn't go that far. I think people make mistakes, and you are held accountable to those mistakes, and the public will listen to the circumstances and make their decision. But certainly it's a factor, and it should be a factor. You're electing a leader. You're electing someone that trust is everything. And particularly in this election, the people of Iowa, I hear this all the time. Who can we trust? And I go out and talk about my record. I talk about the fact that I've been married 21 years and have 7 children. I talk about the fact that I have a record that's consistent in conservative politics. I talk about my past. I think that's important, and for the people to go and determine whether they're trustworthy enough to earn their support.
Senator Santorum, let me put to you George's question. Who's got the better of the argument?
Well, I think you have to speak the truth, but you have to do so with prudence. I mean, it's a combination. And, I sat there and I listened to both of them. I thought they both made excellent points, but we're in a real life situation. This isn't an academic exercise. We have an ally, and the policy of this country should be to stand shoulder to shoulder with our ally. And we didn't have an ally in the Soviet Union. The only allies we had were sitting in gulags, and they desperately needed to hear the truth. And Ronald Reagan provided that truth.
So here we have the truth with prudence. Would that be saying that Palestinians are invented or not?
If I can finish my comment, I'll get to that, George. That we have an ally here that we have to work closely with. And I think Mitt's point was the correct one. We need to be working with the Israelis to find out, is this a wise thing for us to do, to step forward and to engage this issue? Maybe it is. My guess is, at this point in time, it's not. Not that we shouldn't tell the truth, but we should be talking to our allies. It's their fight. We are to be their ally. We're to be supporting them. And I've been out here very publicly that the Israelis have the right to determine what happens in their land. And all of Israel, including the, quote, West Bank, is Israeli land. And we need to work with them as to the solution that works best for our allies.
Many of us are forced to make cuts to continue necessities such as mortgage payments, groceries, transportation to work, and health care. And then the question continues. They want to know, when is the last time you had a personal financial strain that forced you not only to give up a luxury, but also to cut back on necessity? And what were the consequences you faced? This is from Andrew in Texas.
I can say that I grew up in a very modest home and was very blessed to have all my basic needs met. and one of the most basic needs, and the most important one that I've learned, was that I was blessed to have a mother and a father. That was the most important gift that I was given, that I had two parents who were together, who loved me, who supported me, and made me feel safe, and made the little things that no one would consider luxuries today feel like luxuries, because I had that sense of security. Unfortunately, in America, we see the family continuing to break down, and with that, the economic status of those families. Single-parent households in America now have poverty levels approaching 40%. So you not only have the lack of security and stability in so many cases, because moms are doing heroic work trying to hold things together, but it's hard. And so what we can do as a federal government, we can do more importantly as a leader of this country, is to try to promote this institution of marriage, try to promote the family, and try to nurture this environment that we have to make sure that families are elevated and supported, and fathers and mothers are there to take care of their families and be there for their children. That's the most important luxury, is a mom and a dad.
Tell us the one thing you've learned from someone else, one of your challengers on stage, Senator Santorum.
Well, I'll go back to the comment I made earlier. When I was first running for office, Newt Gingrich was the guy whose tapes I listened to as a young man, and at 30 years old, deciding to run for Congress. He laid out a vision for conservative governance that I adopted and ran with in a very, very tough congressional district outside of suburban Pittsburgh, so tough that no one gave me a chance of winning it. In fact, election night, the Wall Street Journal called the Republican National Committee to find out the name of the guy that won, and they didn't even know my name at the RNC. That's a true story, and you don't get a lot of true stories, but that's a true story. And so I came out of the blue as a conservative. I think that's again the thing that distinguishes me. I've run as a conservative in a 60% Democratic district and won, in a 70% Democratic district and won, in a state of Pennsylvania with almost 1 million more Republicans and Democrats, and won, defeated an incumbent and won again. In a year that George Bush lost the election by 5, I won by 6, and I stuck by the conservative principles that Newt outlined in the late 80s, and they've always served me well. I've been a consistent conservative.